Philip Pelto, owner of Firestorm. Welcome on the Business Brief.
Thank you. Good to be here.
It's great to have you, Philip. Firestorm. I've heard a lot about your company. It's a premier business-to-business networking organization. The business itself has seen double-digit growth by 48% in 2020 over 2019, and so far you're up 32% this year over last year. It seems demand for business networking is rising. Tell us more about the business and what's behind this growth.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me on again. We started out in Minnesota in 2005, and it was right before that whole '08 thing happened. And when we started the business, it was really just a way for me to control my prospecting efforts. There wasn't a grandiose business plan or model, but over the years, we've evolved and become a little bit more intentional about what we're doing. And so really at its core, Firestorm is a business development organization. And our mission is to help small business owners grow their top line revenue with strategic partnerships and referrals. And so in saying that, we kind of eat a little bit of our own dog food. And so I have to attribute the growth and our amazing success to all of our members because, they join the organization and they're looking for results, and, we're able to provide those results, and they're excited about it, and they want to invite their friends and tell their network about it. And so that's really, what I can point to as far as why we've been successful. It's really the other people that are joining and our amazing member base.
Yeah, helping business do more business. I love it. Look, I'm an entrepreneur myself. There are probably lots of entrepreneurs, small business owners, business leaders that will be watching this interview. And perhaps some may be curious, what advice would a business networking expert like you, Philip, have if I am looking to build your business network to do more business? So what 3 pieces of advice would you give a business owner or a small business entrepreneur looking to grow their business network?
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. So the biggest thing I think is to find your tribe. There's a lot of options out there. There's a lot of different organizations, a lot of different groups, and they're not all a great fit for everyone, so you've got to find the people that you jive with, that you're looking to connect with, that are going to help you move the needle in your business. And that's different for everybody. So you kind of have to define that and then go in search of that. And there's a lot of resources out there to help with that. And then the second thing is to understand that those relationships are an asset. They're valuable, and it's a currency that you can, rely on and use and grow your business with. And so I think a lot of times people don't necessarily quantify the relationships that they have. And so understanding that it's an asset is super, super important, and treating it as such. And so that kind of leads me to my third point, which is you need to invest in those relationships. And you really need to, make deposits in that relationship to nurture it. It's kind of like a bank account, right? You can't just open up a savings account and then go to the bank and make $1 million withdrawal. Like, you have to put money into it, and you've got to wait for it to grow and accumulate interest. Relationships are the same. You've got to make deposits into that relationship, take people out for coffee and beers, get to understand them, get to know them, and really invest in them, their business, their life. And it's not a short-term play. It takes a lot of time. So, but those are kind of the top 3 things that I would say.
Absolutely. Like anything, if you want to grow it, you got to water it. So I can certainly appreciate that, Philip. Okay, so we are still learning lessons from this pandemic, which is still hanging around. I think, like everyone, I'm hoping that at some point we're going to actually emerge from this pandemic, even though we can fully expect COVID to be around for the foreseeable future. Hopefully we can get this thing under control. But we're learning a lot of lessons, both as entrepreneurs and business owners in the community. I want to know, what have you learned most over the past 18 months, and how does that shape your business for the year ahead?
Yeah. So I think a couple of things. One, I have really been reminded of and sort of validated that people are scrappy, and they're resilient, and they're willing to do what it takes to make business happen. And I love seeing that. I love being around that. I love hearing those stories from my friends and our members and other people around the community. So I mentioned we started the business in 2005. and we went through '08. And the one, similarity that I see with that sort of economic crisis, and then now with the pandemic, has been that the people that survived it and came through it the best were the people that went into it with the strongest networks. They had people and relationships that they could turn to and rely on when things kind of started getting a little shaky and unstable. And one of my goals with the business and with our members is to help people sort of weather these economic cycles that we go through. And inevitably, there's going to be another one. And I want people to be prepared for it. So it's sort of emboldened me and validated the path that we've been on for the last 17 years, and I'm excited for the next 17. So
yeah. As you mentioned earlier, you started in 2005, you got to Colorado in 2014. You currently have 12 chapters, soon to be 13 in the Front Range. Tell us about your expansion plans and how the age of remote work and networking has changed or is changing your model.
Yeah. So remote work has been on the rise for a long time, and we've actually been investing pretty heavily in technology over the last 5 to 10 years, and trying to figure out how do we provide more tools for our members to connect virtually, and online training, and really accommodate those people that are working from home and working remotely. And the pandemic sort of accelerated that a little bit and pushed us along a little further and faster. And the one thing that was encouraging was everybody sort of adopted and adapted really well. And we went 100% Zoom right away in the beginning. And so for the last almost 18 months, we've been doing things virtually, and people are excited about that. And it's not the same, but the value of the relationship doesn't change just because of the medium you're communicating with and meeting with people. So my connections, my clients, my friends are still just as valuable if I'm introducing them to you via Zoom and versus in person. So I have been really excited about kind of where we were positioned when we went into this, and it's really made things kind of opened up the landscape as far as growth. We can expand easier into new places. We've had guests come from Durango all the way to Philadelphia to meetings that are typically just in Denver in the Front Range. And so that's been really cool. We're really focused on growth in the Front Range right now for the next year or two. But for the right opportunity, we do, open and welcome all opportunities. We've got a new chapter starting up in Dallas right now. And, hopefully in the next 10 years, this map behind me will be covered in pins with all of the various locations around the country. So,
well, we are certainly hoping and wishing you, Philip, and all your members the very best and all the success, not only in terms of growing Firestorm, but growing your members' businesses, because we know that's what folks want to do. They want to live their purpose through their businesses, and we think that's important. Philip Pelto with Firestorm, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me on.